Barbados is hosting a major water conference with Prime Minister Mottley calling for partnerships to manage what is now turning into a water crisis. Renewed commitment to the development of sustainable energy and innovation. Multi-talented entertainer Cassius Clay has passed. And in sports, Empire move into second spot of the BFA Premier League.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC NewsNight, starting now.
Good evening, I'm Pearson Boeing. As Barbados hosts the 2023 Caribbean Water Conference, Prime Minister Mottley has called for greater regional cooperation on water management. That two-day high-level meeting is organized by the United States Agency for International Development in partnership with the government of Barbados. It opened this morning at the Lord Erskine Sandiford Center. In her address, Ms. Mottley called for partnerships as the majority of Caribbean countries are considered water scarce and face similar challenges. Adding that it makes sense to have a united approach, the Prime Minister suggests some of the existing agencies could be given mandates which allow them to deal with the water crisis.
We have in our midst the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology, who continues to do distinguished work. But we need now to formalize the arrangements and to formally make them, in this 50th year of the Caribbean Community, Deputy SG, the official agency responsible for mobilizing partnership and increasing governance efficiency and efficacy within the region on the issue simply of water. It makes no sense for each of these countries to be fighting these battles as if we are alone.
Additionally, Ms. Mottley says there are some difficult decisions to be taken and changes needed pertaining to water management.
We cannot afford the luxury of people abstracting water without license, without quantification, without security, and without payment. And the difficult discussions that have to happen in terms of how we change behavior at that level, down to the level of the households, where we need to encourage more of our people to be able to acquire water tanks and conservation devices for the bathrooms and the showers, is absolutely imperative.
And during that conference, Prime Minister Mottley announced the Barbados Water Academy will soon be established at the Barbados Community College.
That Barbados Water Academy is intended to transform behavior and to improve skills. And why do I say that? That we need to be able to have children, from our primary school children to our secondary school to our tertiary students, as water monitors. And this is not a highly esoteric academic middle class thing. This has to be a mass-based movement of water monitors. Because whether it is telling the person in the house, you're here, don't leave on the pipe when you're brushing your teeth, turn it off. Right back through to harassing people that why you ain't changing the toilet yet to the one that's flush less, it don't use up as much water. In the language that people understand in the region, to transform the behavior, not because governments want to look good or water authorities want a better bottom line, but because water is life for that household.
Parents of St. John Primary School have been affected by environmental problems this term and have been given the assurance that the Ministry of Education has the necessary contingencies in place if children need to be relocated. The issues which were raised at last night's St. John Speaks under the theme St. John Rising have the attention of the parliamentary representative as well. Wendy Burke reports.
The mold found at the St. John Primary School is upsetting parent Deborah Richards.
2 days last week we had teachers on sick outs, allowing the children to go home early. This environmental issue is getting worse. We have teachers, pupils taking sick, falling sick, and this is causing a lot of problems, I would say, as far as the children and their education, because they're missing school.
Director of the Education Technical Management Unit, Francisco Miller, told the St. John Speaks at Gall Hill that on May 27th and June 4th, there was some cleaning.
We dealt with the prefab unit. We would have had a report that there were mold in there. We brought in an industrial hygienist as well as an industrial cleaner. We would have done the fogging and the sanitizing of the surfaces in the prefab units. We also, I must say, that the Ministry of Health is leading the charge on this one, and we will be guided by the Ministry of Health.
He added that air quality samples have been fast-tracked, and before the end of this week, humidifiers will be used in the nursery and reception sections. Prime Minister Mottley made it clear that she does not want the issue to lag.
What I want is a clear, continuous conversation with the parents, and let us see how best we can make it possible, because as Minister McCartney said, we are sensitive to the fact that too many children have already lost too much time.
Minister of Education Kay McConney says they're working on alternatives should deeper cleaning or relocation be necessary.
And we have identified alternative locations that in the event that we do have to move at this time, that we will be able to look at those areas and move temporarily until such time as anything else that needs to be done.
The MP for the area, Charles Griffith, made it clear that the children will not be taken outside the parish for school.
There's one vacant room, so if the class 4s who number 22, if they have to move, then it is possible that they can be housed at the David Thompson complex. So based on what Minister would have indicated, I believe the cleaning will be enough to handle the issues that are there, but just in case that there's a need for a backup plan, we have that in place. And note, like I said, that they're not moving outside of the constituency, next door at the David Thompson complex and just down the hill at Codrington College.
Agriculture attracted attention, with Paul Bourne of Peg Farm speaking of private sector involvement.
The initiative that we've taken on at Peg is one such initiative whereby we're trying to create a, I've referred to it as a smart rural community development, and centered on food and farming.
Farmer Ras Ayan does banana and coconut farming and believes if people were better paid, they would farm, but also showed how the industry has changed.
Right now, they want to say Rastafari, they're calling it healthy lifestyle. So all the middle class people eating fruits and vegetables, so the life that we give them free, we paying for it now, because the dearest thing is vegetables. When I first was a Rastaman, I used to sell 10 bananas for $1, right? Now one single banana for $1, so I don't got no problem surviving.
Wendy Burke, CBC News.
Government is committed to the development of renewable energy. Minister of Energy and Business Development, Senator Lisa Cummins, made the comment as she delivered the feature address at the launch of the Sargassum project at Bagnall's Point Gallery, the Pelican Craft Centre today. She told the audience, which included stakeholders in the project, it is an important occasion as Barbados keeps pace with its 2030 goals. Trevor Thorpe reports.
Minister Cummins says the world has changed since 2019, when the energy policy was first implemented. She says change is constant and innovation is now a major part of the conversations, and gave this update.
We projected in principle that we needed to be able to reach targets with regard to how we would onboard energy. We currently were projecting as at 2019 that we would have approximately 166 megawatts of wind. We have 5 megawatts of wind. For solar, we projected that we needed to have by 2030 340 megawatts of wind. We currently have just under 100 megawatts of solar. Bioenergy, even smaller, and storage, we projected as at 2030, we needed to have 204 megawatts of wind. Many of you are familiar with the Trent's facility, which I will open officially a little later on this week. We have 5 megawatts of wind.
Senator Cummins says the Sargassum project will lead the innovation effort.
Energy is much broader than purely the provision of electricity, and that has to be the conversation that we begin to share as well. And so solar PV and the provision of electricity coming off of the grid or being grid tied is a part of the conversation. It is an important part of the conversation, but it is not the entire conversation. And so we have to be able to rationalize what is required of us to be able to have that full conversation. The transition from fossil fuels is an important part of the conversation.
And before presenting a plaque to the Alling School for their involvement in the project, the minister called for a united effort from all stakeholders to take the project to the next level.
We need to be able to twin the research and development work being done by the University of the West Indies and other partners locally and regionally, but even partnerships with those that are global, alongside with a commercialization agenda that brings more and more innovative entrepreneurship into the Barbadian commercial space. We need to be able to have the benefit of financial resources by way of grants and the provision of concessional financing made available by our partners like the European Union that make viable projects bankable.
The Sargassum project will run for 18 months. Trevor Thorpe, CBC News.
Young Barbadians are being encouraged to see the blue economy as their focus as World Environment Day is celebrated. Wendy Burt tells us some children were taken on an Atlantis submarine tour to see firsthand the damage which can be done to the marine environment.
Students from the Grantley Adams Memorial School were under the sea for a first-hand look at the island's coral reef and marine life as part of World Environmental Day. The dangers of polluting this area were explained to them. Environment Minister Adrian Ford told the students Barbados is serious about the protection of its oceans.
Everybody across the world must understand that Barbados appreciates, like everyone else, the importance of focusing on ecosystems restoration, the importance of focusing on land-based solutions that will prevent the vagaries of climate change and natural disasters. And one of the things that we have found over the years is that the behavior, unfortunately, of some Barbadians, that behavior as it relates, we call in our ministry, a big word, anthropogenic. What it means is that throwing all the waste that you accumulate on the land into the ocean.
General Manager of the Atlantis submarine, Roseanne Myers, welcomed the children, principal, teachers, and ministry officials. She encouraged the students to commit to protecting the environment.
If nothing else today, you need to commit to what you can do to reduce plastic at home and at school. And you're going to have homework. We're going to ask you, as a school, what have you done, what can you commit to, and what do you think others in Barbados can do?
And after seeing a wreck and various fish species, the students had a renewed appreciation for the ocean.
My tour was very educational, and I learned not to pollute the ocean by littering with plastic, and it can kill the fish and such.
I saw turtles and fish, and I learned not to pollute the ocean with plastic.
In ways to not pollute the ocean, you could use reusable bags for the supermarket.
47 children in 2 groups made the dive. Wendy Burke, CBC News.
Tributes continue to pour in as members of the local entertainment fraternity continue to reflect on the life and contribution of one of the island's greats. Winston Carlisle Yearwood, affectionately known as young Cassius Clay, died this morning in hospital. He's being remembered as a multi-talented entertainer and humanitarian. Leading the tributes was Prime Minister Mottley, who said Cassius Clay was as unique as he was a Bajan, adding that she does not oversee or foresee anyone like him arising in her remaining days on this earth. Prime Minister Mottley adds that without doubt, his passing means a sizable chunk of authentic Bajan history and life is headed for the grave. Also reflecting on his life, veteran entertainer Richard Stout, who said he was very saddened by Cassius Clay's passing. He says they attended St. Mary's Primary School together. And Chief Executive Officer of the National Cultural Foundation, Cara Roberts-Reefer, also expressed sadness at his passing, stressing that he was an extremely talented, artistic icon with a very big heart. Clay's Sweeter Than a Snow Cone hit was released in the 1970s. Cassius also boxed for many years and was involved in charity work focusing on the youth. His performing side saw him undertake some daring acts, including fire eating and balancing items on his chin. UK carrier Virgin Atlantic's new inter-island flights are set to begin next week, providing more opportunities for intra-regional travel. Caribbean people have complained for some time about the general cost of airfares across the region, but Virgin Atlantic says they remain committed to making travel affordable to as many as possible. Crystal Hoyt has the details.
Last week, Virgin Atlantic announced its inter-island flights, departing from Barbados to Grenada and St. Vincent. While there has been some feedback on the price, which starts at $307 return fare, Virgin Atlantic Country Manager Caribbean Hannah Swift says not only is the price comparable to that of competitors, but it's good value for money.
We are doing what we can to keep our prices as good as we can get them, so we benchmark against competition. We try to be as fair as possible when it comes to our prices to make sure that it's affordable for as many people to travel as possible.
As to what's to be expected on board, she says the best-in-class experience for domestic Caribbean travel.
You're going to get a drink and a snack when you get on. You're going to have access to our in-flight entertainment, so you can listen to our Barbados playlist that we have on board at the moment. And another benefit is that you'll be able to take 23 kilograms of baggage with you, and if you want to, you can purchase additional baggage. So if you're taking down some snacks to family and friends, you can stock up and take advantage of our bigger aircraft.
Ms. Swift adds the flights will be a massive benefit to Caribbean people.
From family and friends who want to go and see family that they've not seen for a while, to schools, sports groups like cricket who are going to go and play one of the other islands, to businesses who will be able to go and spend a day in another island and get some really important business done.
The inter-island service is set to begin next week Wednesday. Crystal Hoyt, CBC News.
The Caribbean Tourism Organization is impressing on the need for Barbados and other Caribbean destinations to work on developing a sustainable tourism industry. Chairman of the CTO and Minister of Tourism in the Cayman Islands, Kenneth Bryan, says the sector should be able to manage and rebound from hurricanes and climate-related hazards. He wants governments and the private sector to work collaboratively on plans and strategies. The advice came during a Hurricane Preparedness and Climate Outlook Forum hosted by the CTO. He says the region's tourism sector continues to be threatened, as he stressed on the importance of preparation and mitigation.
Given its pivotal role, as a region, we must, out of necessity, seriously pursue and implement the actions and the solutions that will enable long-term tourism resilience. I therefore call upon us all, as individual, as regional destinations, as leaders and decision makers, and as a unified Caribbean tourism sector, to renew our commitment and our responsibility to safeguard our people and visitors within the region, the planet, our properties, and our infrastructure investments, which will ensure that this Caribbean paradise that we all call home remain globally competitive and maintains its appeal as a safe destination.
Time for us to take a deep dive into the world of sports with Anne-Marie Burke. Anne-Marie, good evening to you.
Good evening to you, Pearson, and I'll start with some football news. Empire has moved to second on the BFA Premier League tables after last night's win against Britain's Hill. It was a doubleheader in the midweek fixture at the BFA turf that also saw Silver Sands in winner's row. Here's a look at both games. BDF in yellow, Silver Sands in the red in this midweek fixture, and BDF will literally get the ball rolling in the 7th minute of play when Akeem Brown collects a beautiful pass and slots it into the left corner. The Soldiers get first dibs. 10 minutes later, the playing field will be level as Doreen Gale Ford collects a sweet pass and ensured it was buried, and that deadlock will go right up to half-time. 3 minutes into the second, and Silver Sands will stamp their authority. This time, the other half of the Twin Powers, Davine Guilford, was the one with the final say, getting the right boot to it. And from 2-1, it will go to 3-1 when the defender gets a hand on the ball. So don't mind this goal. That came after the whistle went for the infringement. This is what counted. The penalty taken by Dante McLean, and pretty much the script was written. Well, they wanted to add one more for good measure, and here goes Doreen Guilford, Silver Sands 4-1 winners over the BDF Sports program. Coach Shirley Gibbons said it was an improved showing by his side.
Today was something we expected because, after going through so much defeat, we had to look at the football from a more mental aspect than more physical. Did a bit of physical, but I tell myself, all right, I'm missing something here. So we had to sit down, talk, and look at it from a more direct perspective in terms of what it is we are missing. And we sit down, chat, got it together, and we started to work on different programs. We started to do some better drills. We started looking at where the weaknesses are, where the spots in the game that is more effective, and change the system itself and the format to accommodate the players who were more strong in the areas that we needed. That was a change we made that did make a difference in our game tonight.
In the second game, Empire then made it a late win against Britain's-Hill, striking first in the 63rd minute when Kemar Holligan headed in. And then Armando McLeod made it 2-0 with a power shot from just outside the box. And it was a done deal. Empire were 2-0 winners over Britain's-Hill. Empire has now moved to second on the tables, and Kemar Holligan, who scored that first goal, said the win is just what they needed.
We start off a bit shaky, and as the game keep going on, to pick up momentum on the court here, do the basics, follow the coach instructions, and come up with victory. Based on our last game, the motivation was second and second only. So from this moment on, we could well start off from second. Wheels done, going blast already. And then catch you back. But the most you can do is when you watch the games and me playing second place.
And that's a wrap on the midweek football action. Well, it's shaping up to be a historic day for Barbados after the women's squash team reached the medal stages at the Pan American qualifiers in Cartagena, Colombia. The team of Megan Best, Margot Pro, and Amanda Haywood went through the first round of the team competition, winning all their games against Brazil. They then met Chile in the quarterfinals this morning and won that match up 2-1 to book a place in the semis. Best won her match against Ana Maria Pinto at 11-3, 11-2, 11-3. And Haywood defeated Camila Gallegos at 8-11, 13-11, 11-3, 11-2. However, Pro lost her encounter to Giselle DeGaldo at 3-11, 11-8, 11-7, 7-11, 11-7. Barbados is currently playing the USA in the semi-finals. With those results, the Bajan ladies have also qualified for this year's Pan American Games in Santiago, Chile, scheduled for November. Meanwhile, the men's team of Kamal Kamabash, Darian Ben, and Sean Simpson lost their quarterfinal men's consolation plate match against El Salvador 2-1. Kamabach was defeated by Israel Ernesta Abrego Agrela at 11-8, 9-11, 15-13, 4-11, 11-6. Sean Simpson also lost to Jose Andres Lopez Maia at 11-7, 12-10, 11-7. The only winner was Darian Ben, who defeated Vladimir Emilio Iglesias at 11-6, 12-10. They will now play Bermuda tomorrow for places 13-16. Manager Michael Best told CBC Sports the men's section was always going to be very tough.
They have some very strong professional players and stuff, and so the guys obviously fell out of the possibility of getting the qualification for the games in October. As the coach said, we're really proud of them as a team, and our preparation prior coming into the tournament helped a lot, both mentally and physically for these conditions. But it's struggle, but I'm really, as a manager, really pleased with how the team performed, both the men and the women. Doubles are still coming, and so we're really anticipating that we can get perhaps medal in both men's doubles and mixed doubles, and ladies doubles definitely be the strongest chance. But we're also looking at the mixed and men's. Well, I think we have strong teams in all the doubles championship.
In business now, we're hearing tonight that American and European fruit are growing in Barbados. The brainchild of Barbadian entrepreneur Dearberry Ford of Little Into Much Farm, a small farm in Redmond's Village, St. Thomas. Well, a business report team visited the farm today for a first-hand look.
We have strawberries, red and green English apple. We have golden berries, we have pears, which is the Asian pear, we have the avocado pear also. We also have some blackberries. I'm now starting to rear some raspberries and also going after the other berries also.
Well, Miss Ford admits she has a green thumb and makes her own compost. She told the business report that the farm had its genesis as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic.
What I do, I keep my fruit skins and leftovers and stuff, and I store them in a container. And I use that as my compost along with some soil that I purchased, and I mix them together and study the soil because every tree don't grow in the same sort of soil. So when I fail, I have to go back and rethink on what I did wrong and try a new soil again. So I actually create the things that I plant my plants in.
Cane fires had little impact on the 2023 sugar harvest. That's the word from Chief Executive Officer of the Barbados Agricultural Management Company, Orlando Atherley, as sugar officials put the finishing touches to this year's sugar harvest. He says burned canes amounted to about 6% of the overall tonnage. According to Mr. Atherley, following on from this year's yield, the 2024 crop is looking good.
Coming on the back end of this crop, given that we completed the crop in good time for the ratoons to regrow, given that, again, we're making decisions as to whether to start the harvest based on the science, I think next year we should also have a good crop. I need to put a number out there, but I think based on what we saw this year, 16% increase in cane production, I think we will be heading in the right direction because I don't see any significant loss of acreage at the end of this crop.
And with the 2023 sugar harvest at an end, retrofitting and remedial work has started at Port Vale Factory, and their chief engineer, Bruce Gopal, says preparations have started for next year's crop.
We definitely will be ready. What we have really gained expertise in is the art of contingencies. We will have plans, but you know the nature of the industry, how it is right now. If we don't get what we usually plan for in time, because we had issues such as shipping times last year, we already have our contingency plans in place, so we're not really scrambling.
Back into the world of sports, we're joined once again by the lady who looks as fresh as the morning sunrise, Anne-Marie Burke. Anne-Marie.
Thank you, Pearson. St. Bartholomew Primary School held their second annual road race recently. 60 students, including boys and girls, from Infants B to Class 4, contested the 2.37-kilometer course that traveled through the Pilgrim Road Parishland area, starting and finishing at the school. Defending champion Roberta King of Class 4 won the boys section, finishing first overall in a new record time of 10 minutes 19.08 seconds, erasing his old record of 11 minutes 56.15. Caden Wilson of Class 4 was second in 10 minutes 38.57 seconds, and Xavier King of Class 2 was third in 10 minutes 50.15. And Christopher Wall of Class 3 rounded out the top four in 10 minutes 51.49. The first girl home was Ariana Clark in 12 minutes 16.83. She was also 7th overall. The youngest female competitors, twins Brea and Navia Light from Infants B, finished second and third in the girls and 14th and 15th overall. Their times were 13 minutes 16.53 seconds and 13 minutes 17.44 respectively. Now, tributes from the sporting arena continue to pour in for the late Winston Yearwood, affectionately known as Cassius Clay. As we reported earlier, Yearwood passed away this morning in hospital. Cassius Clay is known to have fought some 111 bouts, including 17 international spells that took place in Canada during the 1980s. This earned Cassius a reputable record of 15 wins and 2 losses and opened the gates for him to be recognized in the entertainment industry. The last person to battle Cassius in the ring was former national middleweight champion Curtis Killer Miller. Cassius wearing the gold trunks, and Miller fought for about 40 years ago in a bout titled Clash of the Century at the National Stadium for that middleweight title. Miller registered the victory.
There was no room for running in this ring tonight. He didn't want to be chasing after anybody, and he really has had to do some of that, even though he's tried to cut Miller off at every possible opportunity.
Cassius was a good person, I would say. I even trained with Cassius as a youngster, and Cassius encouraged me to fight and be a good boy. But I never felt that one day, that I would have been fighting him. But I enjoyed it, and Cassius would always be my buddy, and he would always be in my heart. Up to Monday, I was talking about Cassius, and I was expecting to go today to give some blood, me and Edward Yogiwear. I'm very sad. And April gone would have been 40 years ago that we fought. But it's a sad day for me, and for boxing, and for entertainment in Barbados.
That night you fought Cassius, what was the atmosphere like?
The atmosphere was something else. That was the biggest fight they ever had in Barbados. The atmosphere was electrifying, whereas we had all the people from Black Rock who came to support me at Black Rock and Deacons Road and the surrounding areas. They came out to see me, and it was billed as the fight of the century. I still have photos of that. Fight.
And that's our time tonight. Thank you for spending it with us. I'm Pearson Bowen. For the crew, to all of you, good night. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks for visiting us. Now, if you want to see more stories like this one, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And you can always go to cbc.bb for the latest news and current affairs.